My name is Nyquis, and this is featuring Webcomics. Welcome to my channel. It's nice to meet you. In the previous upload on this channel, I shared a character design of my OC Dice, who will be featured in a story I'm working on called Blazin Brazen, alongside my other OCs, Harmony and Symphony, I also shared on this channel. In this week's video, I will be sharing the fourth character from this story, so here he is. Meet my OC, Bron'x. As you can see, I am currently sharing with you guys Bronx's headshots. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I ended up redoing his face because I didn't like how it looked originally. I drew Bronx's face, then went on to drawing his poses. Once I started drawing Bronx's face for the poses, I realized I preferred the drawing I did for the pose better than the one I had done for the headshots at first. So I just decided to get rid of the original drawing and just ended up copying the one from the pose I did and resizing it. That's what you see me doing here at the start of this part of the video. Despite not liking the first drawing I did for Bronx's face, I will say that I had a fairly good time working on his character sheet this week since I was taking a look at the previous artwork I had done for him and was able to generate a lot of ideas from the inspo taken from it. As always, I've got 6 outfits that I've drawn for Bronx as well that I will be sharing with you all in this video. If you would like to see the outfits that I've drawn for my characters in the previous videos, you can take a look at those when you have the time. As I stated earlier, this character that I'm working on for this video is another one that will be featured alongside my characters Dice, Harmony, and Symphony in my story Blazin Brazen. His name is Bron'x Sidon. Like Harmony and Dice, Bron'x is a 17-year-old second-year student at Isle Aegis, a high school in Fura on the planet Braze, which also sits within Cirili, a star system of the Guild. He's another classmate of Harmony's and subsequently Dice's classmate as well. I chose to share a video of Bron'x following the video of Dice because he is another member of the Brazen, a band from Fura, which is the group referred to in the title of the story. There are 2 more members of the band that I will be introducing to you all on the channel in upcoming videos. With the remaining 2 members, this will make a total of 5 overall. Among the 5 total members in the Brazen, Bron'x is one that I was most excited to draw and write about since he has a fairly different style in comparison to the others for the most part. To keep with the custom, I've decided to commence with Symphony in my first character design video for Blazin Brazen. I will now be sharing a quote for Bron'x that explains his story a bit. You'd be fooled thinking that till this guy comes around and all hell breaks loose. In this story, Bron'x has a pretty good time living as a teen from Fura while attending school and working with the Brazen to become a famous band in their world. Bron'x in particular has few real issues that he struggles with in the story, most of which have to do with his experiences as witness to the things that his friends all go through. I'm looking forward to depicting how he'll react and respond to these issues in his dynamic with the other characters overall. With that being said, he's got a couple issues that are just as important as the ones his friends go through on his own, so I'm looking forward to portraying that in the comic as well. Before moving on to the clothing designs I did for Bron'x, I'll be showing you guys my process for drawing the poses for his character sheet first, so we can just get that out of the way before we get to the most important part of the drawing process I want to share with you. The fit designs. I did the same thing for Dice in last week's video and thought that was a better way of going about sharing the time-lapse drawings of everything, so I decided to do that for Bron'x this week and may end up doing the same thing for later videos as well. Anyway, I have this part of the time-lapse sped up quite a bit, so it won't take long for us to get to them, but I'll be sure to go into depth about each pose enough for you guys to get a good scope of my thinking process for my design choices with the fits I'll tell you about later on. So, here's the initial lineup, which you'll see following the end of the time-lapse. When it comes to the poses, I wanted to make sure to make them as different as possible, while still showing Bronx's personality in a way that's consistent enough despite the variance. So here's the initial lineup of the poses for the character sheet. Poses were too similar to the ones that I had done for Dice in the previous video, as well as to the other poses I've drawn for Bronx in his character sheet. So I ended up redrawing them a little when I finished the silhouette drawing process and got to the actual figure drawing process for the poses. For example, I noticed after drawing the silhouettes that Bronx's hands were in his pockets for most of the poses, so I decided to redo the hand placement for the first and fourth poses, which leaves the last pose as the only one in which Bronx is seen with his hands in his pocket. I also changed the arm placement for the third pose because I had already drawn Dice with his arm on his head in the last video, so I wanted to do something different for Bronx in this video. I ended up changing the angle of his body for the fourth pose as well, so we could see more of the design of his clothes for it later in the video. Also, you might notice that I have drawn all of the figures for the poses out of order. This is a realistic viewing of my drawing process. I tend to draw the pose that I feel is easiest first, usually after drawing the pose on the far left of the character sheet, or after drawing the pose that has my character's head in front view. I also like to draw their heads first so I can have the placement down correctly for drawing their shoulders before getting to the rest of their bodies. I ended up drawing different facial expressions for Bronx in this video after drawing all the poses, just so I could make sure each face I drew was in the proper angle and each facial feature was positioned correctly. Again, it helped to have the reference drawing that I did for his face earlier on for each pose and the lineup. Something I wanted to note about Bronx in particular is that I really wanted to try drawing different protective hairstyles for him since his hair is long. I feel like the only times I ever really see long-haired black male characters in stories is when they have locks, which I really quite like, but I really wanted to try pushing myself by giving this character different hairstyles that he can wear throughout the comic series that are looser hair texture styles. I'll show you all the styles that I've chosen for him when I get to the drawing process for each outfit later on. I also wanted to share, before getting to the fit designs, that Bronx has some fashion aesthetic preferences that vary a little from those of the other characters that I've shared so far. While he also has a penchant for the punk rock and alt aesthetics, I also wanted to try incorporating some Y2K and streetwear themes into his clothing aesthetics. So, these are some of the things I'll be able to go into depth about when talking about the outfits that I've drawn for him. An additional remark I would like to make about Bronx himself is that he stands at 6 foot 2 inches tall. Once again, it helped to figure out his proportions and make sure they were done correctly for his poses by using a pre-made height chart for his character sheet. At this point in the video, I would like to encourage you to write down in the comments what you think about Bronx and what his personality might be like in the comics based on what you've seen of him so far from the poses in his character sheet during this process of the video. I love working on character design and trying to make my characters' poses as expressive enough as possible so they can exude personality through them, so I hope that by seeing what you have to say about Bronx, I'll be able to see if I reflected what I've written about him accurately enough through my drawing. Therefore, if you decide to do this, I would really appreciate it. Well, that's all I have to say about this portion of the process. I'll let the rest of this time lapse play out before showing you Bronx's outfits. The first outfit I've drawn for Bronx that I am sharing with you now is called his Chill Colorway outfit. I call it this because he is wearing a coat and standing in a pretty casual pose, as well as because of the colors I went with for it in the completed design. If you want to see what that looks like, stick around to the end for when I share the final character sheet overall. Since this is the outfit that took the longest for me to draw, I decided to show it to you all first so I can cover most of the discussion I want to make about this character Bron'x right now. As you can see so far, I've drawn a jacket for Bron'x to wear in this outfit. I had originally designed the look of the jacket in a separate project file beforehand so that it would be easier for me to draw for the character sheet, since I'd know exactly where the placement of each element on it would need to be. I started drawing a pair of jogger pants for Bron'x early on in the process of drawing this outfit. I ended up editing the pants I did for this outfit at the beginning to make them into relaxed fit pants, and decided to use the jogger style for the bottoms he'll wear in an outfit that you'll see later in the video. I decided to keep the designs that I did on his thighs though for the new pants I did for this outfit. At the end of this time lapse, you will see me drawing Bronx's shoes. I also ended up drawing all of the different shoes Bron'x will be wearing in the comics in a separate project file to reference when drawing his outfits for the character sheet overall. One thing I want to point out is that, unlike Dice, the character I introduced on the channel in the previous video, Bron'x has many different shoes to wear with his outfits, along with different clothing pieces. This is something that made it a bit more difficult and time consuming to work on his character sheet. I had to come up with several different pieces of clothing he would wear across many different outfits, including those that I have not drawn for the character sheet in this video. Bron'x having many different clothing pieces and shoes to wear in comparison to his friend Dice should tell you a bit about the difference in their backgrounds and upbringings. This is definitely something I will reveal more about when writing and sharing the comics for you to read. Anyways, as I was saying about Bronx's shoes, these were hard to design. I was trying so hard to make them sci-fi-esque as much as possible, and ended up making them fairly complicated to draw. The design isn't too crazy, but figuring out how to draw them on his shoes in different angles is what was tough. I didn't give Bron'x any accessories for this outfit. I wanted his coat to speak for itself with how complex the design is that I did for it. I really enjoyed adding the buckles to the straps on his jacket. I think the hardware on his jacket is enough accessory for the fit overall. This next outfit is called Curly Coverall. As you can see, I call it that because I have drawn Bronx's natural curly hair and a pair of Coverall shorts for him. I went with a headband for Bronx's hair so I could pull his curls back out of his face a bit, but I decided to draw him pinching a lock of his hair since the pose I used for it was of a model with his hand in front of his face. That's one of my favorite parts about this drawing in particular. One of the most exciting things I drew for Bron'x in this outfit is his cap shard necklace. I really like how small it is and not too flashy, but also breaks up the curves of his outfit with its angular shape. I also drew him a pocket scarf. He keeps this handy just in case he needs to tie his hair up as a more practical fashion accessory. He's also got a couple wristbands. Maybe they're hair ties, maybe they're not. It depends on what I want to do with him in the comics really. Maybe he'll have it to tie his hair in a ponytail and potentially wrap it with a scarf for added protection. The last accessory is a belt. He has on a belt because I felt like he needed a belt. It's a simple one with no embellishments. The final part of his outfit that I want to talk about are his shoes. Bron'x has on another pair of sneakers. I felt like they just make sense for the style of this outfit. I was going for a more chill, almost hipster streetwear kind of look, so I thought the shape of these shoes worked best for simplicity with few details to break up the white space. That's all that I have to say about this outfit right now. I'll let the remainder of the time lapse for it play out before moving on to the next one. This next outfit is Bronx's Pajamas. I really wanted to try doing a matching set that's a bit more luxury feeling, so I decided to make it simple. I also went with a bonnet for Bron'x in this outfit because I already drew him wearing head wraps in many of his outfits, as well as head wraps for Harmony and Symphony to wear with their pajamas. I figured it'd be best to change things up a bit for Bron'x. I liked going with the bonnet as well because I felt like it would be a good masculine hair accessory for him to wear, while still having that quality and feel of luxury too. The final part of this outfit that I was really pleased with doing for him are his house slippers. I felt like he would be the type to cover his feet up similarly to Symphony, as I had shown in her character design video. They're really simple, just like his pajamas. I felt the minimalist style of his house shoes just made sense with this outfit, like the ones I did for Bronx's previous outfit. I call this next outfit Bronx's Blazin Brazen fit because he's wearing a blazer that I feel really encapsulates the Brazen's aura as a band, and especially his as an individual band member. I loved working on Bronx's blazer for this outfit because I got to make it a bit more slim and form-fitting for him, and to add a bunch of different embellishments to it to make it look cool. I feel like I've succeeded quite well with this part personally. Some of these embellishments include a bunch of rips and tears in the outer material on his sleeves, and belts across his waist in a diagonal line. I wanted Bronx's blazer to have some asymmetry to it to add some complexity to the outfit, while keeping his overall silhouette for this outfit simple, slender, and sleek, and I also gave him some lapels that the belts fasten across on his right side. Underneath this blazer, I've got him wearing a cropped t-shirt along with a partially meshed top. I'll say for his hair that, clearly, I decided to not go with a hair accessory for it, and just had some of his braids tied back with one in front of his face. I felt like this was a demure little style for him to wear with this outfit. When it comes to his pants, I spent a good while working on them for this outfit because I wanted them to fit the aesthetic while having a more slender shape to them, so I added a bunch of grommets to his calves and some studs closer down toward his ankles. I gave Bronx a pair of slim boots for this fit and added a chain to the outer side of them near his ankle for extra decor. When it comes to the accessories for this outfit, Bronx has matching wristbands like the one Harmony wears in her rock and lace outfit. I just didn't want to add any embellishments to them, like I did his pants, because it was already taking me too long to get through the sketchwork of this character sheet, and those tiny little rhinestones or studs would have just prolonged the process, so the wristbands are simple. With that being said, I did give Bronx a stacked necklace with a shard on it. This is one of the coolest things I've drawn for him, I feel. The last accessory that he has is a belt with a big, chunky buckle plate. I call this second to last outfit Bronx's docked up bag fit. I decided to call it that because his jacket is a docked article of clothing, and because he wears a pair of baggy pants and a crossbody bag. There are a few things I want to mention about this outfit in particular. For his hairstyle, I gave Bronx a hair scarf to cover his braids to show how he'd look with his hair covered up, since I plan on having him wear different hairstyles in the comics, including head wrap styles. At first, I was going to make it a beanie, but I decided to go with a scarf instead to make the scarf accessory consistent throughout his outfits overall as a distinct design choice for his character. Next, his docked jacket. I originally was going to make it so that Bronx is wearing a jersey under a cropped button down, similarly to how I did Harmony's rock and lace fit in her character design video, but I decided against it and ended up making it into a docked shirt in the long run. I added some buckles to his shoulders for added detail, and a few more lines to the bottom edge of his shirt as well. I added a scarf around Bronx's hips to go over his pants as an additional accessory. I did a similar thing for Dice in his cheeky punk outfit in the previous video as well. Finally, his shoes. I gave Bronx some really cool chunky tennis shoes for this outfit. I thought that they would suit him best for the clothes he's wearing in it, and was inspired to design a pair based on some references I saw on Pinterest. I really like the way they came out and how they're simple enough, but not too simple to where they're boring. I realized as I was coloring this outfit that I don't actually want to have Bron'x wearing all of the accessories he's wearing with the top he has on. I figured I could use all the pieces for this outfit separately in different outfits since I still like all of the items I chose to use. I think it would make sense for him to only end up wearing this outfit without his docked short sleeve jacket as opposed to wearing it with the jacket. I'll keep this in mind to use in the comics when I start working on it in the future. I'm still really happy with how the pieces in the outfit turned out though, with the way that I designed them. I call this final outfit I've drawn for Bronx's character sheet his Laidback Wrap fit because it's a casual outfit I drew over a pose of him leaning back a bit with the head wrap around his forehead. Pretty on the nose with this one. I decided to go with a laid-back outfit for Bron'x for this last pose because I wanted to see how I could make him exude this aspect of his personality throughout his outfit. Before getting into the clothing I have drawn for this outfit, I want to discuss Bronx's hairstyle briefly. I struggled a bit with drawing this pose because I was trying to make sure the parts for his hair were as accurate as possible. You'll see me going back over his hair a few times throughout this process to see what I'm trying to do with it. I even had to go back and watch a few videos that I had seen previously on TikTok to make sure I fully understood what I needed to do to draw the direction for the parts correctly. I'll let you know now that this is the outfit that I chose to redraw the jogger pants for that I was talking about regarding Bronx's chill colorway fit earlier on in the video. I chose to add a few big pockets to his pants to break up the simplicity a bit and make the outfit more complex in a subtle way since the silhouette of the outfit itself is less so. I realized eventually at some point during the drawing process for this outfit that it was a little too simple for my liking, so I decided to make some changes to it. It's nothing too drastic, but there are a few extra details that I added to Bronx's clothing for this outfit that I did in the inking process, which I will be sure to talk about later when I show you the character sheet. Lastly, I'll say that I gave Bron'x a pair of lace-up boots with a strap over the top. For all the shoes I gave Bron'x for his outfits, I really wanted to make them stand out since I feel like they'd exemplify more of what his preferences are regarding his clothing style. It was fun to draw these ones in particular because I had given him a few sneakers for the earlier outfits I've shown, and I wanted to give him some boots that would fit into the grunge punk rock aesthetic that is seen throughout his friend group, the Brazen, as a whole more consistently. That was the final outfit for this video. Now we can move on to the character sheet and see the final look of all the outfit designs following the end of the time-lapse drawing for this outfit. Alrighty then, the character sheet. I made a few last-minute changes to a couple of Bronx's outfits that I missed in the original sketching process. The first change I want to point out is that I added a cutout to Bronx's shirt for his laid-back wrap fit and added some chain loops to the slits on his sleeves. I had always intended on adding the chain loops, but I forgot to do so when I was doing the sketch work and had to make sure I added them when I went to ink the pose. I also made some adjustments to the stack necklace I drew for his Blazin Brazen fit and made the shard pendant a more dynamic shape. I much prefer this one to the original one I drew in the sketchwork process. The next thing I want to discuss is that I tried to challenge myself with a color scheme for Bronx's outfits, especially pertaining to his shoes. The one outfit I think I'm the most pleased with myself with doing regarding his color scheme is his curly coverall outfit. I like that I added some orange and green to it and feel like it is a more brighter and colorful color scheme in general, which is pretty refreshing when comparing this outfit to the rest of it. I even made his coat and his chill colorway outfit some brighter tones too. I decided to go in this direction especially since I was considering making his Blazin Brazen outfit have darker shades of blue. I also really like how I colored the torn cutout in his laid-back wrap fit along with his boots. I made it to where the straps on his boots are transparent, a shade of blue, so you can see his laces through them. That part was something I thought a lot about while drawing it and had fun coloring in the long run. Anyway, that's about everything I wanted to share in this upload for Bron'x in this week's video. I will be sharing another character from Beamer and the Brazen here on the channel sometime soon too, so be sure to turn on your post notifications to be notified of when I upload the video so you can see who I will share next. Well, that's all for today. This was featuring webcomics with me, your host, Nyquis. If you've stayed to this point, thanks for watching. It was great to have you here. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next week.